Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we'll look at temperature control. So I'll show you formula and also real life example. So the four things that make up the temperature in your dough are flour, water, the leaven, and the air temperature. Sorry about the blur. So normally you want your dough to be 24 to 26 degrees Celsius. Let's say we want it to be 25 this time. So to control the end temperature, you will most likely adjust your water temperature. Can't do much about the air temperature. The flour is in your kitchen, it's more or less the same as the air temperature, and the leaven also. So to work out the water temperature, first thing we need to do is take the desired dough temperature and subtract the mixing temperature. Now the mixing temperature will be different from case to case. My hands are quite warm. I know that 5 minutes of mixing will add about 7 degrees Celsius to the dough. But this is up to you to work out. I'm just showing you the formula. Don't worry about the numbers. So, desired dough temperature minus mixing temperature equals 18 in this case. You want to multiply this number by the amount of variables, which are flour, water, leaven and air, 4. This will give us the total number of degrees, which is 72. From here on in, we can easily work out the water temperature. Because we can measure the flour, the leaven and the air, we take the total number of degrees, subtract the flour, subtract the leaven, and subtract the air temperature, and the remaining number will be the water temperature. Simple as that. All you have to do is work out your mixing temperature and measure the temperature of the three known variables. Now let me show you the real life example. So as you can see, my kitchen is 23 degrees Celsius. Stick a probe in my flour and get the leaven and the salt, which goes in the dough, but it doesn't affect temperature. So my flour is around 21.5, 22 degrees Celsius. Now check the leaven, that should be more or less the same, because it's also room temperature. So 21.5. There's only one more thing we need to add, which is the water. Now pop this in the freezer to get it down to the temperature. It's around 6 degrees, that's exactly what we want. So now, just grab a bowl and start making your dough, just as per usual. Add the water, the salt, the leaven, give it a quick mix. Add the flour, mix it to the dough. Take the temperature. As you can see, it reads about 18 degrees. And like I said earlier, my hand had around 7 degrees Celsius for 5 minutes of mixing. So I'll knead this dough for around 5 minutes. Now check the temperature. And as you will see in a moment, it's exactly 25 degrees Celsius. Well, more or less. It's not an exact science. The temperature of your table will also affect this. By using this formula and knowing all the variables, you are sure to get your temperature right every single time. And if your dough is not warm enough, just knead it for a little bit longer. So that's the real life example. You can clearly see that it works. So let me show you with the formula. So we know that the flour was around 21.5 degrees, the leaven was 21.5, the air temperature was 23. We had to work out the water temperature. The desired dough temperature is 25 degrees. We subtract 7 for mixing equals 18. 18 times 4 gives us total number of 72. From 72, you subtract the flour, leaven and air, which gives us 6 degrees for the water temperature. Right, second example. Let's say for instance, you're making an Autolyse. So your water and your flour will be mixed beforehand, and they'll be sitting out on the table for a while, so they will go up in temperature. So I've mixed this with room temperature water. It's around 20 degrees. So we'll cover it up and let it sit like you would when you Autolyse your flour. And depending on the temperature in your kitchen, this might warm up more or less. We'll let it sit for a couple of hours. And now, check the temperature once again. And it's gone up by 1 or 2 degrees, 1.5 or so. So in this case, the only options are either you refrigerate your leaven or you pop your Autolyse dough in the fridge. So my kitchen was around 22 degrees Celsius, so my leaven to be around 9 degrees. Add the leaven to the room temperature dough, start mixing. And just as before, I'll give it around 4 to 5 minutes. Better to stop and check once in a while, just so you don't overwork it and get too warm. If we check the temperature now, at the end of mixing, it's 25 degrees Celsius, just what we are looking for. So in this example, in the formula, you have only 3 variables: the Autolyse dough, the leaven and the air temperature. So the only way to control your dough temperature is by adjusting the temperature of the leaven or the Autolyse. and you can do it either way. Now let me show you an example of the formula. So we have 3 variables, the Autolyse dough, the air, and the leaven. Once again, I was aiming for 25 degrees Celsius as my desired dough temperature. Subtract 7 degrees for mixing equals 18. Times it by 3 because 3 variables equals 54. And then you subtract the dough temperature and the air temperature. So the leaven should be 10 degrees. And yes, I know I showed you that my leaven was 9 degrees. And I would suggest having your leaven cooler, because it's quite small in relation to the total dough, so it might not bring down temperature too much. But that's the formula. Now, bonus time. Let's say you've kneaded your dough, it's the middle of summer, and it's too warm. 26.5 degrees. Wow, what are you gonna do? This is a quick cheating method to save it. Wrap your dough up in cling film, flatten it out, pop it in the fridge for 5 minutes. I mean, I wouldn't suggest relying on this, but it may save you if you're in trouble. So give it 5 minutes in the fridge, pop it out on the table, and knead it for a little bit longer. The outside of the dough is cold now, the inside of it's still warm. You want to distribute that temperature evenly throughout it. Now measure it once in a while so you don't overwork it again. And just keep kneading to get it to the right temperature. The good thing about kneading dough by hand, you can never overwork the gluten, it's impossible. Right, another point on temperature. If it's the middle of the summer and it's super hot, you can also refrigerate your flour to control the dough temperature. What I'm saying is there's many ways of doing it. So let's quickly look at different kneading methods. Doing the stretch and fold inflicts less temperature on your dough. So it will tend to warm up more slowly if you do the stretch and folds, which is good. Normally stretch and fold takes a lot longer as well. And it is always up to you to work out how many degrees your hands add to your dough. And in my experience, the mixer also warms up the dough more slowly than your hands. Well, at least my hands. But that's about it on temperature. I hope you learned something. I hope you found this interesting. Make sure to subscribe for more videos. My channel is also full of recipes. And if you have any questions or suggestions, write them down in comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.